Students know the argument, the very classic argument of if there's a God, then why is the world so unjust and why is everything so cruel? Mr. C.S. Lewis here raises a very important question to that question. The question being, cruel and unjust compared to what? He asks, how do you get this idea of just and unjust? He says, a man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. Because what that question implies in the first place is that this person is already very aware of the reality of there being a justice or a just side of things and an unjust side of things. And if you're aware of that, then where does that awareness come from? Where does that standard of comparison come from? That comes from morality. And morality is innate in each and every single person. Or maybe you don't agree that morality is innate within every single person. Well, C.S. Lewis further explains that if morality were simply to not exist, then we would never even have these ideas of whether justice is good or if justice is bad. Those kinds of ideas would not even come up in our head. And he explains this by talking about atheism. He says that atheism turns out to be too simple. If the whole universe has no meaning, we should have never found out that it had no meaning. Just as if there was no light in the universe and therefore no creatures with eyes, we should never have known that it was dark. Dark would be a word without meaning. If something simply does not exist, then we would have never had any sort of concern about it or awareness about it or thought about it at all. If it doesn't exist, then it's simply not something that we would be able to ponder. Essentially, the argument that morality is simply not a thing is completely faulty. It's not a good one. Because your own questions will give you the answer that it's simply not a good one and that morality is in fact a thing. However, when you accept that, you further have to go on to where does this morality come from, and did this morality simply just sprout out of nowhere through the process of the Big Bang? You're led into a path in which you kind of have to accept that there has to be a higher power. Not necessarily saying that it's the Christian God or the Muslim or the Hindu, but that there is a deity and that there is someone or something above all things that had to have created this.